Well, my friends, this is Jay, and I am back with part 2 of my Forever Yours lace shawl. The Forever Yours lace shawl. This is the stitch that we have been working out of the Shetland book by Elizabeth Lovick. If just in case you forgot, because it's such a great book, I have just loved working the stitches so far. This stitch in her book is called the Victorian Zigzag Lace, and we have just made it our own and our own little shawl from it. So real quick on part 2, this part shouldn't take long because you have done most of the work. Let's do a quick recap and make sure we're on the same page. And as you can see, this is my shawl. This is the back of it. But when we started the shawl, I'll move my end up. This is where everyone started. Everyone, everywhere besides. We started here. And we had a cast on number depending on what your center number was. I went over that. And you could have chosen 3 or 5 or 7. And you can, all that's in the first part of the tutorial. So what we did then, we just simply started working the lace, taking our time. I worked it row by row for you. We worked the lace up. We kept increasing. On the increase side, you work up to the 3rd stitch before the marker. Just work up right before the marker, 3 stitches before the marker. Knit into the front and into the back, tighten the stitch up, and continue to work across. That's the increase. And as you can see, I'll pull mine over a little bit. Just want you to see. And this one makes such a beautiful little collar. You just get that little extra on this without even doing anything special. So you continue to work up. I shared with you how to figure out the length that you need to get to the center of your body or your cleavage. That's all in part 1 of this tutorial. All right. Then once you got up to how many repeats of this pretty lace pattern you needed to get to the center of your body or to at least your cleavage line, and I decided to go ahead and go up 22. I decided to work 22. I repeated the pattern 22 times until I had actually 22 of these little points, these little repeats. See the points? Every time I have a point, I was repeating the pattern. And so I just went on up to 22. I just thought I'd want a nice, beautiful shawl to kind of hug my body. The next thing you had to choose was, when we started, you had to choose whether you wanted to start with a center of 3, 5, or 7. Those are the numbers that I use because like I said, I've been doing this shawl style for years, and it's a lot easier if I use the same use the same formula all the time, same numbers that I'm familiar with, and that just saves a whole lot of time. I don't have to sit here and guess and look, and then have to try to look at other patterns and things. I just know what I'm going to do, just like you know how to drive to your favorite place. So once I got up to my number, I decided it was 22, so I put a marker. That's where I stopped the increase, right there with that marker. So the next row number 1, the next time I started the pattern, row number 1 is right here. I just did not do any increases. I simply worked the rows, worked the pattern again, and then one more time, and then again. So I had to work the pattern 3 times. If you had the number 5 for the center of your shawl, you would have just simply worked the pattern 5 times with no increases right in this little area here, this center back. Does that make sense? If you picked 7, you would have had likewise. You would have had 7 repeats of the pattern with no increases, and this is what I call my version of a little simple crescent dip right here in the back of the shawl. See how it dips down? And that's really all I need. I just wanted to have something to kind of hug my back. It looks really nice when you wear it. But I didn't have to do any short rows or anything. like that. We may do that later on, but this is just my little way of getting that nice flow. And did you notice on this particular shawl you get a collar free? Look at this beautiful collar that simply lays back. All you have to do is just fold it back. You don't have to, but look at the bonus you get because we made it wide enough for the back. And then when we just left this part in the back, that just extends the collar even more. Now when I finish going across the back, whether it was 3, 5, or 7, I put them, then I want to start the the decrease side, or the downhill. Sometimes they call it the downhill side. So I would be on row 1 over here, and that's where you were to wait on me, and that's where we're going to get started. We'll start it, put a marker to show that we're on the down side as we finish the first repeat of the pattern, and then continue on. So all right, let me get set up, but I wanted you to see my shawl, just to see if you have anything, if we're on the same page, if you have anything like this, and that hopefully you like yours too, as much as I like mine. After all, it's your forever lace shawl. What do you think of that? All right, let me clear this up, and I will be right back, and we will start down the hill. Hey, once we start rolling, we just roll. Back in just a minute. All right, my friends, now I'm all set up, and I'm ready to so that I can show you how to use just a very simple decrease. I just use the same increase and decrease on this style as much as possible, just to keep it flowing, and so I don't have to take time and have to look and ponder and wonder what to do. All right, so on the increase side, now I'm working, I'm ahead of you, so you're back here where you just stopped the center back. You're on row 1, the right side, and we have done the neck, and we're just working across. And we are just like on the increase side. Every time I come to row 1 and row 5, I'm going to decrease 1 stitch on this side to get this pretty, as you see the curve as it starts to curve down. I'm taking a stitch out as we work our way down. Alright, on the increase side, very simple to remember, I go to the 3rd stitch before the marker and knit into the front and back. It's just kind of a standard, a simple way of doing it for this particular style. That way I don't have to do a lot of trying to remember and what did I do. Work up to the 3rd stitch before the marker, knit into the front and back. Now on the decrease side, I'm going to knit up to the 4th stitch from the marker. Keeping it simple, easy to remember. 1, 2, okay, I got 1 more to knit. Alright, take a look. Here it is, just real simple. Knit up to the 4th stitch from the marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, the first 2 stitches, I simply knit those 2 stitches together. Just knit them together, and then knit the next 2 stitches. I like to make sure you kind of pull them, give them a little tug, just so that there's no hole or anything. I slide the marker, row 1 and row 5, we are going to decrease, so I'll go ahead and work row 1 since I'm already here, and it's fun, and I enjoy knitting with you guys, so we'll just take care of it real quick. So row 1 on the chart reads knit 2, then I knit 2 stitches together, then there's a yarn over, and then there's knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then again, it's row 1, knit 2 stitches together. There we go, right there. Just knit those 2 together. Then there's a yarn over, and I've already pre-counted, so knit 5. 1, 2, that's 3, oops, make sure, got a split yarn, 3, 4, and 5. So you should have 2 stitches left on the left hand needle. 1, 2, right? But we have that double yarn over, so yarn over, and knit the last 2 stitches. So that's row 1 with the first decrease. You're back where where you're starting. But you have started the decrease. Just that easy, just that simple. Easy to remember. All right, now, let me talk for a moment before I let you start working down a little bit. On my increase side and my decrease side, remember I like to always use even numbers. So I went ahead and I have 22 points. See the little points? All right, I want you to start to keep decreasing on this side down to at least however many, go about halfway down, however many points you have. So if I have 22, I know halfway is 11 points. So I want you to work down, I want you to decrease down till you get around the halfway point of how many points you have, how many repeats. You see that? All right. You will work row 1. You will be on row 1, you will decrease and then stop. Wait for me there because I have a nice little, I got a good way of checking ourselves, and I hope it's a nice tip to help some of you that may, I'm going to see if you see what I see. So I will be back shortly. So you're to continue to decrease, and I will see you about halfway down, however many points you have. Back in a bit. Take care now. You're still working the pattern. You got to be careful. You're just decreasing down. All right, back in a moment. All right, I just want to come back real quick because as I'm working down and it's so hot. Oh my gosh, I guess we're finally into the hundreds too. But anyway, so as I left you at the last point, I shared with you the simple decrease and you were working down. And I said I'd come back and give you some little tips just to kind of help you as you go down. Because it's always on this side, for some reason, when I do this particular style, which is my favorite style of my simple style shawls, the decrease side I sometimes can't get it to look quite like the beginning side. And so I thought, well, if that happens to me, it probably could happen to you too, or will happen to you, because knit happens. So this is just a cute way, not a cute way, but a good way to kind of check yourself. All right, first of all, first thing I want you to do, as you start to knit down and go down, I said go at least halfway and stop, and this is what we're going to do. Go back and line up. You remember you have a center, we've got a center stitch here in the back. And let me see if I'm on, or did I? Yeah, okay. Am I too close? Because I have an odd number, so that makes me have a center point. There it is right there. Then I can kind of match these points up. They don't have to be exact, but you can kind of match them up as you come down the shawl. Just lay it out on a table somewhere where you can really lay it out and just kind of match up your points and see how they, how the shawl is looking, how the stitches look, mainly how your gauge. This is what happens to me. All right, so, and this one looks pretty good. I don't know, as I go on down. Of course, it always looks different on the needle. On the needle, it's probably a little longer than what it looks. I mean, when it's off the needle, it's going to spread out a little more than what it is on the needle. But the idea of this, you have 2 points to check as you're working down. You can be trying to make sure that you have the same amount of points on each side of your shawl. Or if you get towards the bottom and maybe you're off 1 point or something happened, knit happens, but you do have the right number of stitches that you started with. For me, I started with a cast on of 25 stitches and I knit 2 rows. Remember, you had a choice to how many you wanted to cast on. All right, so but back up here about halfway down, like I said, I want you to stop now and start checking every once in a while just to see how it looks. Lay it against lay the shawl out against, and if you see any kind of big flare out that for some reason, I'm sure well, maybe not, I'm sure. But for me, when I start out the shawl or start knitting at the beginning, I'm tight. And my stitches are very compact and close together. But I know for myself, knitting so many years, the more I knit on a project, the looser it gets. It just gets so loose. My gauge just loosens up and the yarn just wants to just flow out. The pattern, the stitches, they just want to flow out. I want, like, did I pick up extra stitches? No, probably not. Your gauge has just gotten looser. So this was a tip that I was going to tell you to help you in case, especially if you're new and all this gauge stuff. And Jay, I knit real tight, but now all of a sudden this just looks like it's just too big. You could try changing your needle, not needle size, but change the needle. Different brands are different. For me, I normally use a bamboo, but we are so hot down here and I'm just pouring water. I just picked up these little metal needles just to kind of help me get this project done and then make it easier to just slide the stitches because the bamboo does have drag on it. Alright, so you could easily just find another brand, whatever size, the size that you're using, number 8. Find another brand. You'll be surprised that brands are different, even though they say they're the same size, and we have that little gauge to put them into, but sometimes some are just a hint larger, or some are just a hint smaller. So you can try another size needle and see it might be a hint smaller than what you're using. Don't change the needle size, just find another brand. Check if you have another brand. A lot of us knitters have a lot of different brands. I have other brands. I just don't use them that much. But I have a lot of different brands. From Child Goo to, I don't have any Addies. They were too slick for me. But I do not have any Addies. But I have a lot of the other brands. Try another brand in the same size and just on the wrong side, as you're getting ready to do a wrong side row, just knit with the new needle and see if that will help to, if your gauge is, like I say, if this has gotten so big and it's hanging way over here, you're going, oh, Jay, what happened? Did I pick up stitches? No, probably just your gauge has gotten so loose. So just try another needle for maybe 2 or 3 points or 4 or 5 points. You don't have to stay on it if you don't like the needle or don't want to do it, but, knit a few rows, 2 or 4 points, and then just go back on the wrong side, pick up your original needle back, and see if that will help bring your gauge in. For me, if it got too loose, I could simply go back to my bamboo, which has a lot of drag on it, and it won't let the stitches become too loose. See, because they have drag on them, they kind of keep them together. They kind of, slow that stretching. They don't stretch the stitches as much. I find that when I work on metal needles, I actually stretch everything. Things to me get stretched. So that's a tip. That's just something. So now what you're going to do, as you just check every once in a while, just lay it and see, like, okay, I'm close enough, Jay, I didn't spread. But if you're way off over here and your lace is matching up pretty good, but then this part is off a little bit by almost an inch or half an inch or something, then try switching needle brands, not size, but the brand, and see, or try bamboo. Now, as you go on down, let me tell you how, so that you can go ahead and get through and get to the end. All right, when you, like I say, you have 2 ways of finishing up, either by counting the points, having each side have the points exactly just right, or having your stitch count. Both of them may not line up. Knit, like I said, knit happens. So you knit on down and you finish row 8. Row 8 is where we did the little bind off. It makes a little, the bind off area of the little point. And then when you turn the work, you will be on row 1. And you say, oh, Jay, I've got my number of stitches. I have 25 stitches. That's what I started with, and I want to count it. Can I go ahead and stop now? I'm not worried about the points. Nobody's going to stop and say, let me count your points. Nobody's going to stop and say, let me see how many points you have. But you say, I have the number of stitches. All right, then when you turn the work and you are on row 1, don't work row 1 from the chart. Simply knit across row 1. Just knit across. Then when you turn the work again, you will be on the wrong side. But instead of doing row 2, this is the side you will simply bind off in the knit stitch on the wrong side. Is that clear? How when you get to the bottom and maybe you might look up and both of yours match. You might have the right number of points and the right number of stitches. But choose one or the other if they don't. And like I say, you work row 8. When you turn to the right side on row 1, just knit across that row. And then when you turn on the wrong side, bind off in the knit stitch. And I'm telling you, you'll be able to take and just exhale and breathe a sigh of relief. And then, of course, you can, weave in your ends and all the different things you need to touch up or whatever. If you have some little goof bobbles or little things like, even the best of us knitters do, people. I don't mind telling you that I was trying to watch the Olympics. Don't watch the Olympics and try to do this shawl. It just will not work. But if you have a little place, maybe you have a little place where there might be a little, maybe you think, is that a hole or is that something that I need to take care of? Just always will do it from the wrong side. And you can take a piece of the yarn and just go up into the one stitch, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then just cut it off on each end. It's not going to come undone. If you feel like if you had a little holy place or a place, that's why I'm not a big fan of garter stitch, because I don't care how careful I am, I always get little glitches, and I haven't figured out, or maybe somebody needs to tell us why these glitches happen in garter stitch. Of course, in stockinette, I can see it right away, and I know that I dropped a stitch or I need to go back and clean it up. So that's just a good little tip. A lot of things that you made, little places that they're easy, you can easily fix them, but on the wrong side. And usually, if you just go use a yarn and thread and go up into a stitch and then down, then up and down, just back and forth to kind of close whatever that's bothering you or you think will stand out on your shawl. Well, what do you think of this so far? It's been a process. It's hot. But we have been practicing. I'm going to lay my shawl out like this. Now I'm going to go to let me back out. Oh, okay, you can see it. I'll back out just a little bit more. So I have a pretty lace shawl. I have a nice little crescent dip that we didn't have to really do any short rows. And when you wear it, if you decide to roll it back, which I probably will, just to make it look different, you have a really pretty built-in collar that I think will just make it look really nice. You can put some type of accessory or pin, or I can always put my flower. Flower power. And that is it for this beautiful Forever Yours lace shawl. Now, some of you are going to be excited and want to get some, nicer yarn or try it in another yarn or whatever, then by all means. And then some say, okay, Jay, I like that, but what's next? But the fact that you didn't give up and that you kept going and that you do have a finished shawl. But when I'm sure on down the road I would do this shawl again and pick another yarn, choose something different. By then there's just so many yarns available. I'll probably pick another yarn and give it another go. But I really am glad and I'm happy and pleased that I did finish this and that I have it to share with you. So thank you so much for those who took on this little challenge. Don't worry, I'll come up with something else for those who weren't ready for this one. This was more for more seasoned knitters. But I have other things, I'm working on. So this is Jay. And to all my friends, everyone, everywhere, every size, I wish you happy knitting. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.